Hello, you guys. So, welcome back to the channel. This is my short natural hair. Today, we are going to be trying something new. We're going to be doing a sew in weave pixie cut. So, let's just get started. So, the first thing we're going to be doing, using some braiding hair, we're going to start our braiding pattern. This braiding pattern for a pixie cut, we're going to start with 3 braids going straight across our neck. This is our very important base to get a flat pixie cut in the back. Now my natural hair is extremely short in the back. This is why I'm adding the braiding hair just to get a good grip in the back. Now, this back of this hair is really short. You guys can see your girl is trying to grip it. She tried. The struggle was real, but I did try my hardest to grip it, okay? My hair has always been thin and short. So it's something like I always did, trying my hardest to grip my hair whenever I can. Trust and believe me, I'm used to this, so it's nothing new. It just takes me time and patience to get it done. But this part is very crucial when it comes to your sewing. You want a good grip because you don't want your sewing to come off early, or you don't want your sewing to get loose, especially in the back, because when it comes to pixie cut, the back of it, the flatness of it is what makes the pixie cut. So this part, you want to grip it. If you have short hair, you have thin hair, get you some braiding hair and grip that hair, because if you don't grip it, your sewing is not going to last. So this is the first step. Now we are going to do 3 braids. This is the first braid. I'm going to speed this side up to do the other 2 braids going straight across my neck. Now for a pixie cut, this hairstyle is usually done as a quick weave where it's glued down either on the stocking cap or it's glued down on the liquid cap. Now, believe it or not, that's the easier route to go. But I have one client who is allergic to the hair glue. I have another client who do not like the liquid cap because the liquid cap dries down very hard after you sit under the dryer. These are some of the reasons why somebody might want to consider a shortcut, but they want the shortcut to be done as a sew-in weave. All right, so now we are moving on. We are on our third foundation braid from the back. Now, this third braid is the last braid that's going to go straight across. And you can see we want this sewing to be flat in the back. So I'm taking the two braids. I already joined the tail together. And I'm going to extend that braid to the beginning of the third braid. This would just give me extreme flatness in the back. I do not have to worry about any bumpiness in the back. I do not have to worry about any braids bunched up under the sewing. This is how I get rid of my braiding hair till, just to ensure everything is flat in the back. Now, once after braiding the 3 braids in the back, we're going to move on to the front. We're going to do 3 braids going straight back on one side and 3 braids going straight back on the other side. So I call this method the 3-on-3 braid pattern, okay? So we are doing a closure with this sewing. So we want the 3 braids on the side of the closure, and we also want a 3 braid on the other side, which will not be having a closure. But we're going to be doing a sew-in that needs to be flat on that side. And if you can notice, I did not use any braiding hair for my sides. I have my three braid on the right side, my three braid on the left side, and then I have my three braids in the back. This is my 3-on-3 method. And now for the rest of the hair that was in the middle, I just braided in on a diagonal angle going straight back. I just went ahead and speed up this process so that the braiding part doesn't take up all the time. But this is how I do my braids for my pixie cut. Now that middle part, that bump, you need that with every pixie cut. So that part is perfect. It will give me that hump in the back when I do the pixie cut. But this is how my braiding pattern looks, my 3-on-3 braiding pattern. All right, now I'm going to use some jam to lay down my itty bitty little baby hairs in the front, okay? My hair has always been thin and very short, so I try my best to protect my tiny little bitty edges, okay? So we're going to slick those back with some jam it up, okay? Before we go in with our stocking cap. Now, once after I slick down my baby hair, you can't tell me nothing. I be looking cute, okay, with my braids. We're going to go ahead and put these stockings on. This part is for the closure, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is put the stockings. We're going to put a hole in the stocking so our ear can come through. This is like a closure ball cap, okay? I add a little bit of got to be spray just to make sure the closure sticks to my forehead, okay? And then I wait for it to dry. Once it's dry, I go ahead and take my pair of scissors and cut off the extra stockings. We only need the stockings for the closure part. We do not need it all over this hair, okay? It's not a frontal, it's a closure, so we're only cutting off the stockings around the closure. All right, so once we apply our stocking for our closure ball cap, we're going to go in with a weaving net. The weaving net is going to go all over my entire head. Now, using a weaving net under your sew-ins are a great method. I love it, but I especially love to use it under my Pixie Cut Sew-In Weave because it helps eliminate the holes in the middle of each braid. It gave you one surface and it gave you a flat surface to sew your pixie short haircuts on. You do not have to worry about your pixie cut being bumpy or your wealth being bumpy. You can feel the flatness of your pixie cut once you apply your weaving net. So that is the one thing I really love about using weaving net under my pixie cut. But overall, using a weaving net, especially if your hair is short, using a weaving net under all your weaves are a great thing. It helps ease tension from your braids too. You don't have to sew each thread and pass the needle through each braid. You can just pass it onto the weaving net, and it's a great source of releasing tension, especially if your hair is thin. Now, once the weaving net was tacked down, I went ahead and took my pair of scissors and cut off the extra weaving net around my head. All right, now we are at the hair part. We are using the Ultra Velvet Remy, and I'm going to be using a closure with it. Now, this is very important. You want to go to the beauty supply store. Do not get your closure off online. You can get your closure online if you want to, but it's not going to match the Tara hair. It's not, the closure is not going to match the Tara hair. You want the closure to match the velvet Remy Tara hair. Whatever color you get, you want it to match. So if you go to the beauty supply store, you can get a closure that's color one. And you can do a color one velvet Remy Tara hair. And both of them will match perfectly. I got two packs. I got the small, which is 1, 2, and 3 in sizes and length. And then I got the 2, 4, and 6 in sizes of length. I do not use all of it, but I do use the 2 middle length, which is the 3 and the 4. That's the reason why I picked up 2 packets. And you can see how black that closure is. I am going to use that closure with the Velvet Remy Tara hair. I already went ahead, I bleached the knots on this closure, and I applied some light foundation to the lace. And now it's time for us to apply the closure. This is a very important step for your closure to lay as flat as possible, okay? Especially when you are doing it on the side of your ear to do a deep side part. Make sure you want to cut off this extra tab. If you leave this extra tab on and you put it towards your ear, it's not going to lay like a frontal. You want this to be flat and neat. You want this closure to lay like a frontal on the side of your ear. So using my pair of scissors, I usually cut off one side and remove that tag. This is a very important step for your closure. All right, now, so using some Ghost Bond glue, you can use any adhesive of your choice. I like the Ghost Bond glue, but honey, I stay away from my edges. My edges are so thin, you can see how far my glue is from my hairline and my edges. I do not apply that glue near my hairline. That's why I'm okay with using the glue on the closure, even though my hair is thin. After I apply the glue, I usually rub it in and just wait for it to get a little bit clear. I do not wait for it to get all the way clear, but a little bit clear. And then I go ahead and apply the closure. After I lay the closure down onto the glue, I'm just going to take my elastic band and apply it to the closure. This just helps melt the closure into the glue and onto my skin. All right, so once the closure is tied down in the front, I'm going to use my needle and thread now and sew down the entire closure in the back. Now, this is one of the important part of using the weaving net. You will release tension off your head once you use the weaving net. You can hook that thread and needle to the weaving net instead of your actual braids. After sewing down our closure, it's time for our ultra velvet Tara hair. Now this Tara hair comes 3 sizes in the pack. I am using the smaller size first, so I'm using the small box first. And this is how it looks once you unravel it. I'm going to be using the middle piece first, not the small piece. So it's the small piece, the big piece, and then the middle piece. So I'm going to be using the middle piece first. Now, starting off with that middle piece, I doubled the track. So I'm using 2 wefts. I'm going to go around underneath the braids. I'm going to make a U shape. I'm going to go from one ear to the next ear. This will be my first piece sewn down. Now, when you sew this middle piece down as your first um, track, make sure you are going underneath the braid. You want to sew the track underneath the braids. Being that this is the first track in the back, you want it to be as flat as possible where it's snug to your skin. So you want to sew the track underneath the braid. Try to hook the needle onto the weaving net and go through the weft from underneath. I'm going to slow this part down so you can see it. This part is very crucial if you want your pixie cut to stay flat in the back. If you didn't catch it, let me slow it down one more time so you can see it. You want to pass the needle through the weft underneath the braid and pass the needle through the weft. You see how flat that back part is? This is what you want, especially for the back of your pixie cut. Now, once you have that back part of your pixie cut flat, honey, you cannot go wrong with this. The rest of it is just sew in, and you have the net as a base and a flat surface. So you cannot go wrong with this sew in to say you're going to mess it up or it's going to be bumpy. You cannot go wrong with it. And I use the middle part because I like the edges of my pixie cut looking soft. I do not like that even cut around my pixie cut. I feel like it looked like a mannish pixie cut. I love my baby hair around my pixie cut as soft and girly looking. That's the reason why I use the middle length, which is longer for the first part of my pixie cut. Now, after I apply my first track, which I use the second piece, I'm going to take the smaller piece now. I believe it's the 2 inches. And I'm going to sew it in between the braids. A this is one of the great things about using the weaving net. You are going to sew in between the braids and it's going to be flat because the weaving net acts like a flat surface for your entire head. So I'm going to start sewing in between the braids on the parting space. And I'm going to use my thread and needle and sew on the top. Well, sew from left to right until I get to the top. Now, when you do this sew in, it's easy breezy. So make sure you are hooking your needle and your weft together. Try not to sew on your braids, okay? And make sure you do not miss any holes in your sewing. You see that parting space in the middle, how big it is? You do not want to miss that. You want your pixie cut to have enough hair so it's not thin. You also doesn't want it to be bulky, but you definitely don't want it to be thin. So you want to cover every hole with a track. Every parting space, you want to cover it with a track. You want to use your thread and needle, and you want to sew it to the weaving net because you don't have no braids in that middle. So you want to use your weaving net to sew it. That's the purpose of having the weaving net. If you do this part correctly with sewing in between your wefts from the back, you cannot go wrong. You cannot mess up. this pixie cut. I'm telling you, it's like easy breezy. You will have a flawless, flat pixie cut, no question asked. This is the results of doing the weaving net, sewing underneath the weft. You see how that lays extremely flat. The wefts are sewn together, tiny, tiny. Is no spaces in between. All the hair is laid in the order as it should be. This is a foundation for a good sew-in weave pixie cut. You cannot mess it up. You can't go wrong with this. We're just going to breeze through the rest of the sew-in for the rest of the video. Now, for the other side, which do not have the closure, you want to use the same method like we did the back part. So we're going to use the second piece in the velvet tower hair, which is the longer piece. That's the piece we're going to attach to the weaving net on the side of our ears. This will help that side lay just as flat as the closure side will lay down. This is the reason why you want to do the understitch method with the edges of your pixie cut, because you want the other side, even though the other side does not have a closure, you want the other side to lay down as flat as possible. You want that other side, your baby hair on the other side, your sideburn to look really nice and flat. So you want to attach it to the side of your ear underneath the braid. Now, once after that side piece is done, the rest of it is easy breezy. Just lay the tracks diagonal to the side and continue sewing in between your parting space, just to make sure everything is flat. Now we are at the front. We are going to be using the largest piece in the velvet tower hair box, and this is the 6 inch. I'm going to lay the tracks down just like the way I did the braids in the middle. Starting off with attaching the hair to the closure. I always do this part. This just helps secure the closure. Even if the glue was to come off, the closure will still be intact and the closure will stay be flat. So I always attach the weft to the closure piece whenever I do a side sewing. All right, so once you have the weft attached to the closure in the front, I'm just going to go ahead and continue sewing the rest of the weft down on the weaving net. Now we are at the end of this pixie cut sew and weave. All right, so I went ahead. This is the closing part. I went ahead and I pick out one track only. I believe this is the middle track, and I'm going to attach it around the closure. This will leave no gaps, no holes. You won't see the lace in the back. Everything will be covered up and everything will look seamless. Okay, so this is the end of this Pixie Cut Closure Sew-In Weave. Now we're going to move on to the next part, which is going to be styling. Before styling, I went ahead and cut the lace off, and of course, I did my makeup. Now, the first thing I did was give me a part on my closure. I went ahead and parted my closure, and then I used my hot comb to slick down the hair. I also parted out my sideburns. Then I took my razor and began to razor cut. Now for the razor cut, it's hard to explain. You just have to go with your instinct, but you cannot mess up with the razor. Once you're using a razor comb, I guarantee you, you can't mess up. You just have to part the hair section by section and use the razor to achieve the look that you're going for. Now, I did razor cut the closure to make sure that the hair is team on the closure. I went in with the mousse and slick the closure hair down. They just teams the hair and make sure that I have the cut as desired as I want it to be. I went ahead and used my scissors to team and trim the hair that goes around my ear part. And this part is precise, but you just have to be patient and gentle when you do it before you cut yourself. After that, I move on to the other side where I'm going to use my razor again and razor cut the entire sides and the back. Using a razor is the best way to get a precise cut or at least an edgy cut when you're doing a pixie cut. And I'm using the mousse to help me team the hair to make sure I have a precise cut. Now for the top of this hair, I left this part longer because I'm going to curl it. So I did not want the cut to be too short on the top. The hair is beautiful just the way it is. You can definitely mold it down at this point to rock it if you want that slick look. But as for me, I want a little bit more glam. So I went in here and cut off my sideburns, just matching on both sides. Then I used the mousse and I slicked the rest of the hair down, sat on the dryer for a little bit of time. Once after molding the hair, it was dry. I went in here and used my tweezers and I plucked out the closure parting space. You definitely want to do this step just to ensure that you have a nice open parting space and it helps makes your pixie cut or your weave look more natural with the closure. So I went in here and I plug it out, making sure that especially the front part is a little bit thin so it looks like a real pixie cut coming out of my scalp. Do you see that? That's what we are going for, okay? Once I did that, I added the mousse and gave me a little bit of waves on each side. I did not even realize that my camera was not focused on this point, but you can see it. You get the gist of it. I gave myself a little bit of swoop and waves on each side. And now we're going to try to clean up the back a little bit more. So I added a little bit more mousse just to the back of it, just to tame the hair. And again, I went back in with my razor and I razor cut the back. This is one of the reasons I use the shorter hair in the back because I cannot see in the back of my head, but the hair is already short and it's already laying like it should. So I'm just going over it with my razor to just try to make it look as sleek as possible in the back. And like my longer pieces in the back, this is what I'm talking about when I say I want a soft girl edges, okay? Do you see how soft that back is? I do not like the scissors cut that goes around the pixie cut. This is how I love my pixie cut around the back to look. I like that soft girl look where it's edgy, it's cute, and it's pretty. Now after the cut, I want to lay the closure down on the side. So I use my elastic band, and like you see, I'm going to tie it on the side of my ear because I want the band to lay the back down and I want the band to also lay the closure down. All right, y'all. So once the band is on, it's time for us to curl. I'm using my tiny curling iron and I'm going to be making these circles curls. I always love this when I see it on a pixie cut. The curly pixie cut is like a Betty Boot kind of hairstyle. Those pretty voluminous curls. So that's the look I'm going for. But this curl takes time to do, y'all. But I guarantee you, after you've done all this work, to do the curl should be easy. It just needs some time because each curl that you make, you have to position the curl and shape the curl in the form that you want it to. And in my case, I want the curl to be formed into like little circles just to give me that pretty like Betty Boot kind of look. So this is the look I'm going for. So it's gonna take time to get the curls in, but I guarantee you, once you've done all this sewing work, you can definitely achieve these curls. Now, after curling the top, I went in here and moved on to the back using the same curling iron, but my curls are a little bit smaller and shorter. I just went in here and curled the entire back, and look at how pretty that looks, y'all. I was so excited about this hairstyle. I cannot believe I achieved this. And yes, this is a sew-in. All right, you guys. So after curling this pixie cut in the back, I went ahead and used a little bit of mousse and I defined my edges and my sideburns, just giving me that edgy, soft girl look. And then I added a little bit of foundation to my parting space. Girl, you can tell me this is not my real hair. Do you guys see this? You can tell me this is not my real hair. I got a pixie cut, okay? So there you go. You save your coins by doing this yourself. You save your hair by not cutting your hair. You try a new look to see if you like your hair cut or a haircut style on you. You achieve this all in the comfort of your home. Who said you can't cut? Who said you can do a closure? Who said you can do a razor cut? Who said you can do a curl? Trust me, if I can do it, you too can achieve it. Get you a razor, get you a shortcut. It's summertime, it's springtime. Get you that flawless pixie cut in the comfort of your home. Until next time, I love y'all. Bye.